Imagine a state where all low-income renters could afford their home. This is the vision of Beacon and the goal of the Bring It Home Minnesota campaign. My name is Ben Helvig Anderson. I am the Director of Public Policy at Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. Beacon creates homes, shelters families, and advocates for the vision that all people have a home. We are leading the Bring It Home Minnesota campaign, a campaign for a Minnesota rent subsidy program. Minnesota is in a dire housing crisis, even before the pandemic. That's the bad news. The good news is this is a crisis we can solve. A central part of the crisis is housing instability. Housing instability is when a family is paying too much of their income toward housing. Housing experts put that number at 30% of a household's income. Right now, over 200,000 Minnesota households struggle to pay their rent every month. These working families have to make excruciating choices as they try to balance their medical bills, their child's field trip fee, and keeping their home. This crisis makes it hard for families to save up to buy a house, and too many people in Minnesota are always on the brink of slipping into homelessness. We can fix this crisis with rent subsidies. Rent subsidies allow a qualifying family to only pay 30% of their income toward rent, bridging the difference between a reasonable rent and what the family can afford. The Bring It Home Minnesota campaign is advocating for a Minnesota rent subsidy program to cover all low-income Minnesotans. We believe this needs to happen because in Minnesota, we care for one another. We value chipping in and doing our part. We can have a state where no child goes to bed worried if they'll have to move schools again, because Bring It Home Minnesota provides stability for kids and helps them thrive at school. We can have a state where families are healthier because Bring It Home Minnesota will make room in tight budgets for nutritious food and vital prescriptions. We can have a state where poverty is reduced because Bring It Home Minnesota ensures families aren't taking on debt to keep a roof over their heads. We can have a state where landlords have stability because their tenants can pay bills on time and they can maintain high-quality homes. We can have a state where no one gets left behind because Bring It Home Minnesota works for all of us. So if this is a good solution, why aren't we doing it? Well, many of us think we are through the Federal Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8. But only 1 in 4 families who qualify receive it. 1 in 4. That means 75% of the people in Minnesota who qualify don't get them. While Washington dithers, Minnesota families suffer. And yet only 0.5% of the Minnesota state budget goes towards housing. We could create housing stability for all low-income Minnesotans with only 3%. It is time for Minnesota to step up and lead and make sure that all of our neighbors can afford their home. We can do that through rent subsidies. Winning housing stability for all Minnesotans won't be easy. There is a lot of momentum around ignoring or maintaining the current housing crisis. Many believe that we don't have enough to go around and that we can't afford to help each other and that everyone has to go it alone. This status quo negatively impacts all of us, especially people of color who have been locked out of opportunity for generations and are too conveniently ignored in essential conversations. When our society adopts the myths of scarcity and isolated individualism, we betray our deepest values and keep perpetuating harm. It will take time and a lot of work, but we can change this. We're shifting the momentum from a status quo that doesn't work toward a shared future where home is a reality for each of us. The urgency is high because too many of us are still waiting for the stability of home we desperately needed yesterday. We know it will take a lot of work to transform the status quo, but it is worth it. To make this happen, we are building a statewide coalition, and we need you to join us. Whether you are an individual advocate or someone who needs a rent subsidy, or an organization, congregation, or elected official at any level, join us. Stand up for home, for strong, prosperous communities, for health, for education and employment. If home is a key to success, shouldn't our budget, the statement of our shared values, reflect that? Small solutions will only bring small change. And Minnesotans can't wait longer for the stability of home we needed yesterday. It's time to go big, time to go bold, time to change the system so that each of us can afford a home in this state we love so much. We need you to make this possible. Please join us and support Bring It Home Minnesota. Visit www.beaconinterfaith.org/policy to learn more.